week 6 of the Mole Sisters with Elise and
Michaela. We are two sisters born with moles on our faces, and each week we discuss women in art and music history.
all right. So this week Michaela's going to be talking about pianist and composer Florence Price.
Yes. So Florence Price, she was a cool woman. So she was born in Little Rock, Arkansas on April 9th, 1887. She was born to Florence Gulliver and James H. Smith. So they were a mixed race family, and despite race issues in that time, especially in Arkansas,
Yeah.
her family was well respected in the community.
Oh,
So
okay.
her dad was the only dentist in town, and then her mom was a music teacher. So that's where she started her musical journey. Yeah, so it's just, kind of crazy that even for especially for that time that they were
Yeah.
not given issues in Little Rock,
Mhm.
Arkansas. So she was a child prodigy. Shocker. So she gave her first piano performance at the age of 4.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure what she played, but the fact that it is of note probably was something that most 4-year-olds wouldn't play.
Right.
And then her first composition was published at the age of 11,
Oh
but
my
that
God.
composition has since been lost. So they don't have it, but they know that it was written.
Mhm.
We don't know what the piece was. Florence graduated from Capitol High School in Little Rock at the age of 14 as valedictorian.
Damn. She's a smart
Yeah, so
bitch.
she was top of her class
At
at 14
14.
years old. Yeah. Meanwhile, at 14, I was sitting there with my thumb up my butt, acting like an idiot. So, yeah, so stupid. Anyway, queen that she was. So after she graduated, she enrolled in the New England Conservatory, which is still a functioning conservatory, I believe. I'm fairly positive it is. So she majored in piano and organ.
Wow.
And when she was at the conservatory, initially she pretended to be Mexican in order to avoid prejudice against Black people,
Hmm.
which I found interesting because I
Yeah.
feel like now it's the other way around mostly. I mean, not mostly because there's still a ton of racism going on, but
Right.
I don't know.
I didn't know that it would make much of a difference, but
Yeah, I didn't really think, I don't know. I just found that interesting. I think I remember learning about it in my music history class and also finding that strange then. But I do think, I mean, this was not long after, I mean, Black people were not free for very long
right.
before that.
Hmm.
And so there was just a
I
lot of
guess it would make
tension. So,
sense, yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So she studied composition with composers George Chadwick and Frederick Converse. So Chadwick was influenced by the realist movement, which is it's like a down to earth depiction of the human existence.
Okay.
So, trying to he wrote pieces about the headless horseman and
Oh,
things. Yeah.
yeah.
So things like that. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong on that, but I remember seeing that somewhere. So, Converse, his works were more romantic, classical, and were often compared to early works by Strauss.
Okay.
So, if you know Strauss,
Yeah.
he's a famous one.
Hmm.
So yeah, so she had these two very different types of composers that were coaching her, and they ended up playing a big part in her future career in composition. And so while she was at the conservatory, she composed her first string trio and her first symphony. So,
Damn.
casual. She graduated at the age of 19 with honors, and
My
she had
God.
right. She had both an artist diploma in organ and a teaching certificate.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And here I am sitting on my butt.
I know. I just reading about her. She did so much. And I'm tired after an 8-hour day of work where I'm not writing anything of note,
Yeah.
but whatever. I mean, to be fair, I have a lot of children I teach, but
Yeah.
she brilliant and I am
Yes.
not. So she taught in Arkansas briefly before she moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 1910. So while she was in Atlanta, she became head of the Clark Atlanta University's music department, which is also insane because she was in her 20s
Oh
and
my
she became
God.
head of the music department.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know how great that school ranked in the world of music at that time. Like I don't know really much about the university, but still like to
Yeah.
get a university position like that is pretty prestigious.
Right.
So in 1912, she married a lawyer named Thomas J. Price. So that's when she got her last name, Price,
Hmm.
and moved back to Little Rock. So she only stayed at the college for 2 years.
Okay.
After many racial incidents, which included a lynching in 1927, yeah, they moved to Chicago. So
Ooh.
yeah, there was actually and a lot of black people in that time moved to Chicago from the South because it was like this haven, or so
Right.
they thought. But then, of course, in Chicago, there was still racism and all that
Hmm.
stuff because it's everywhere. Love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So it was just, uh, that was just a natural move was to go there because it wasn't safe for her family. So this like kind of triggered a whole new era of her composition career. So she really took off then. So while she was in Chicago, this is insane. So she studied composition, orchestration, and organ with the leading teachers in the city, which were, so I'm just going to name these people if they might mean something to some people, but Arthur Olaf Anderson, Carl Bush, Wesley Love Violet, and Leo Sowerby. And she published 4 pieces for piano in 1928 after studying with them for a little bit. So,
Okay.
and she'd only been there like a year. So, okay, girl,
Yeah.
go off. So she also enrolled at various times at the Chicago Musical College, the Chicago Teachers College, the University of Chicago, and the American Conservatory of Music. And at those places, she studied both languages and liberal arts on top of music.
Oh my God.
So she was just one of those people like that loved music, that
Hmm.
and was just always loved everything, really. Just was
Yeah.
there to learn.
Just
And
always wanted to expand her mind. Right.
yes, and I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she was um quite educated, highly educated,
Hmm.
and again, not super common for that time. So she in that time somewhere she found the time to have 2 daughters.
Okay.
So, she was busy in other ways too. And she later, so in 1931, so they had moved to Chicago in 1927, or well, yeah, 1927 to 1928-ish. And so in 1931, she wound up leaving her husband because he was abusive and
Oh.
they were having a lot of financial struggles and stuff. So she became a single mother then to her 2 girls.
A single mom who works 2 jobs.
Literally, because she worked as an organist for silent film screenings and then composed songs for radio under a pen name
Oh
to
my
make ends
God.
meet. So she
She's the
literally
reason
was,
that song was wrote.
yes, for real. Homegirl was hustling.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the silent film thing is crazy because like I know silent film had music accompaniment written for it by like real composers, obviously, just like any other film score. But to think that those were still being screened in 1931,
Yeah. Yeah.
like how far we have come with movies, it's just
It's
insane to think
crazy.
about that.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so that's what she was doing, which is kind of interesting. So, while she was single and newly single and struggling financially, she lived with friends. And eventually she moved in with a student of hers who is also a good friend named Margaret Bonds, who's a very famous, well, famous in the musical world, Black pianist and composer. So they both had similar life
Okay.
experience
Yeah.
that brought them together. So through the friendship, she was connected with the writer Langston Hughes and then contralto Marian Anderson, who were both prominent figures in the art world, and they both helped aid the success of Florence Price's career. I mean, it wasn't like she took off in the way that she has now, which I'll get to, but they helped her do a little better than she was initially.
Okay.
Do you know what a contralto is?
No.
It's the range between alto, and it's like the lowest female singing voice.
I see.
So
Okay.
it's like not it's not quite a baritone, but it's lower than alto range.
Yeah.
So they just sing super low.
Okay.
And I don't know, contraltos have like some of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard, in my opinion, because it's just like the deep whatever sound. So Marian Anderson was a very famous contralto, because really it's a pretty rare voice type to be able to sing that low. So Price and Bonds, so Margaret Bonds, who was her roommate, they began to gain more national recognition for their compositions and performances together. So they would write, like Price would write music for Margaret and so
That's
on.
cute.
Right? In 1932, they both submitted compositions for the Wanamaker Foundation Awards, and Price won first place with her symphony in E minor and third place for her piano sonata, and she got $500.
Oh my God.
Imagine writing a whole symphony and a sonata and just being like $500 out of the whole shebang.
Well, how much was $500 in that time?
That's a good point. Let me look.
This was what, the 1930s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So 1932. Oh, okay. Okay. So it's the equivalent to about $11,823.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what? That was a good price. I saw that number and I was like, what? But I didn't even think about the
Inflation.
inflation. That's insane, though.
Yeah, that
Holy
is.
shit. Oh my God. Okay. Well, we're not going to get into inflation because I'll just be pissed off. So the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, they premiered her symphony on June 15th of 1933. So this made her the first first Black woman to ever write a piece that was performed by a major symphony orchestra.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah. I mean, if it was going to be anyone, it was going to be her. Let's be real. So, yeah, she was, I mean, to get to that point, it's crazy. So the Chicago Daily News, which is a newspaper, called the symphony a work that speaks its own message with restraint and yet with passion, worthy of a place in the regular symphonic repertoire. So
how beautiful.
it was rated highly. Yep.
Yeah.
So a symphony in Detroit, it's the WPA Symphony. Don't know what that stands for, but shout out to that symphony. And the Chicago Women's Symphony, which didn't know that existed, but I wanted. They performed a number of her other works. So she wrote other works for orchestra, chamber works, violin works, organ anthems, piano pieces, art songs, spiritual arrangements, 4 symphonies, 3 piano concertos, and a violin concerto. And in total, she had more than 300 compositions to her name.
Damn. And I can't even write one. I don't even have that ability.
No, for real, I've never committed enough to finish a piece. I've like started writing stuff for my students, and then I'm like, what am I doing this for? There's other shit out there that they can play. I'm just wanting, I hate every second of this. I like, no. So yeah, haven't gotten that far. So she's already way ahead of me on that. In so many ways. She was a child prodigy, for one, which I was certainly not. So she used in her music, and I'll talk more about like her music style later, but many of her pieces were like characteristic Black melodies and rhythms.
Okay.
So just like think like spirituals and music that you would find within like an urban setting. Just a lot of that was influenced within her music. Or influenced her music. So she, in 1940, she was inducted into the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers for her work as a composer. So that was pretty cool. Good recognition. I don't know, again, the weight of that honor, but it sounds legit and pretty cool. So on June 3rd, 1953. She died of a stroke in Chicago. So, and like right after she passed, much of her music was overshadowed by the more modern musical styles that were emerging after her death. Some of her work was lost, unfortunately, and really she was just kind of forgotten over time. And but then in the early 2000s, so like 2001, there was a group that brought forth one of her, like a choral group that brought forward one of her pieces and started to recognize her. And then again in like 2006, there was another group that brought something forward of hers, but there just wasn't like no orchestras were performing her symphonies. Like there just wasn't any recognition. And this was early 2000, like within our lifetime, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So she was just slowly regaining more attention in the classical music world. But this all changed in 2009. This is when things really got crazy. So, a substantial collection of her works and papers were found in an abandoned and rundown house on the outskirts of St. Anne, Illinois, which is about 70 miles south of Chicago.
Oh.
And so that was her it was her summer home
Okay.
that had just been grown dilapidated over the years, and no one, I guess, had kept up with it.
That's just from like a movie. That's crazy.
Right? So the place had a hole in its roof because a tree had fallen over. There was water damage. Like there was just the place had been looted, like her piano had been stolen. And it was just a hot mess. The plan was to completely renovate it. So this couple had bought the house, and that's who discovered these papers. And like how incredible that they got there, saw these water damaged papers, and knew to reach out to someone.
Yeah. They didn't just throw it away.
Yeah. So many people would just throw away. They'd be like, oh, this is shit from other people, not my problem. But it's such a just amazing that they did not do that, because now we have her work and have more of her stuff, because she truly does have a place within the standard repertoire. I've played some of her music. I love playing it. Within dozens of her scores, which it was literally dozens, like there were so many. Some of them, within those, there were 2 of her violin concertos and then her 4th symphony. So it was like huge finds to have. So it wasn't just like choir songs or whatever. It was, crazy stuff. So now her symphonies have been more frequently performed within major orchestras. So it's just, she's finally getting the recognition she deserved years ago in her lifetime. So it makes me sad when musicians, composers, artists, all of those people who worked their asses off their entire life, and I know it's for something they love, but got zero recognition within their lifetime for it.
Yeah.
It just is sad. But so here I'll talk a little bit about her music style. So her musical training, as is the case with most classically trained musicians, was deeply rooted in European tradition, as per usual. So think like Beethoven, Brahms, all those, dead white guys. So her music consists mostly of American idiom and demonstrates her Southern roots. So you hear elements of America within her music, and like her existence within America, which kind of nods back to her original teacher, one of her teachers, composition teachers, who was like within the realist movement or influenced by the realist movement. And so she wrote using sounds and ideas that fit the reality of urban society. So a lot of the rhythms and stuff were not standard dead white guy rhythms. Like it was a lot of blues inspired stuff. So she was deeply religious. So a lot of her music was also inspired by spirituals, and she used a lot of music from her church as material for arrangements that she created. So some of the stuff she made, I don't think was original from her. Like she just took a piece that already existed and then kind of made it her own. for some of them. But I mean, she definitely wrote her own stuff too from her own
Yeah.
brain. So yeah, it was blues inspired and then mixed with more traditional European romantic techniques.
Okay.
So it was like the, romantic era, which is my personal favorite. And then her music was just kind of a direct reflection of life as a Black person in a large city in America, especially in the North. So I don't know. That was Florence Price.
Yeah.
She's just an interesting lady, and
A genius and a hard worker.
fucking much. Yeah, holy shit. Because I am stupid. The more we're doing this research on people, I feel little and small in this world. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I have to show for it?
They're gonna find our paintings of SpongeBob and Patrick and
Yeah, our ass paintings. And they're going to
yeah.
be like, oh my God, these girls were geniuses. No, they're going to go, these dumb asses who have the maturity of a peanut and paint butts.
Yeah.
But you know what? I stand by that. I will paint butts till I die.
As will I.
I want there to be an art collection in a museum one day of all of our butt paintings.
You know what? Yeah. They actually need to do that.
Yeah. We're gonna have to start sending out our stuff. Yeah. Like, would you to the Smithsonian? Would you be interested in this exhibit? What do you mean you're not interested, MoMA or Met?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Be like, this is Patrick's bodacious cheeks, and you're just
A grace to your eyes,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're not
for real.
appreciating the way it needs to be appreciated.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. And then they'll also find like my house or apartment one day, probably with all my shit still in it, and be like, damn, she was low-key a hoarder.
Rather that than minimalist, though, you know?
I would, yeah, for sure. I fear for the day that I move out of this apartment, though. I'm like, actually, I think about it often. I am so scared of that day. I'm going to need like 3 U-Haul trucks. And I don't know. I will get rid of a lot of things, but holy shit.
Yeah. No, I get that. I understand. I am also the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's all like useful stuff. I'm not truly keeping garbage, but actually speaking of, I do need to take my garbage out. Anyway, not related to anything. All right. So, thank you for listening to week 6 of the Mole Sisters. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, or Spotify.
and tune in next week. I'm going to be talking about painter Clara Peter.
Heck yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.